The most expensive real estate in the world is the graveyard. What I mean is that pursue every action. Don't have the woulda, coulda, shoulda. Take action, discipline yourself, and have no regrets. And I remember this in medical school. It was tough times. Studying, and sometimes you don't know what path you're going. Residency, the match, and when you're in a dark place and you think you've been buried, but actually you have been planted. So new opportunities. It's perception versus perspective.
This is my time.
Hi, I'm Kyle Stephenson, and you're listening to the Assets and Orthopedics podcast. In this forum, we hope to educate medical students, residents, physicians, and other high-income professionals on the power of investing, especially in real estate assets and syndications. We want to help providers gain financial intelligence with the hope of earning financial freedom. Please listen and learn so you can spend more time doing what you love with who you love. Enjoy the podcast. Hello and welcome to the Assets and Orthopedics podcast. This is your host, Kyle Stephenson. You are in for a treat today. Our guest is a former bariatric general surgeon, hotel owner, and savvy real estate investor. I have referenced him in past episodes. Please welcome JD Singh, MD. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hey, Kyle. Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. We're excited to have you on today. So I will introduce you first, JD, and then I'll let you take it from there, and we'll just have a conversation.
Sure. Absolutely.
So JD is a former general surgeon, bariatric general surgeon, who left medicine to pursue his passion and expand his commercial real estate portfolio. Throughout his experience, he has been involved in over $200 million in acquisitions and sales over the years. His portfolio includes hotels, self-storages, office space, flex space, and mobile home parks. He is known in the industry as a creative thinker and someone who is known for his unique ideas for cash flow and strategies to maximize the sale. I also want to say, JD, personally, that I've gotten to know you over the last 8 months, including doing some deals together. He's not only one of the smartest guys I've worked with, but he's genuinely one of the nicest guys that I've ever met. So we appreciate that. It's always good to have positive energy when you're working with somebody.
Absolutely. Hey, thank you for that beautiful introduction. Hey, man, you made me like a movie star. You got to tell my wife I'm a nice guy too.
Yeah, she better listen to this. All right. So let's just get started with, because again, this show is for medical students, young doctors, young residents, high-income professionals. Let's start with your medical school training, your residency, and early career. Yeah.
So just a quick background on me. I was born and raised in Southern California, only child. Kind of grew up poor, had to mature up at an early age being the only child. I literally grew up in a motel. And so I kind of have, they call me the hotel whisperer. I can go to a hotel and kind of figure out, hey, what's right and wrong. So, but then I went to high school in Southern California. I went to a University of California, Riverside for my chemistry degree. And then I went to medical school in Mexico, in Guadalajara, University of Guadalajara. Learned some Spanish there. I did my residency in New Jersey, Jersey City Medical Center, then did my fellowship in New York. And I enjoyed a few years practicing medicine. And it came to be that, I got an aha moment, honestly, during residency, my first child was born and I wasn't there. And I kind of took a step back. What am I doing this for? Or who am I doing it for? Am I doing it for my family? And, with medicine, it became more procedure based, compensation stayed the same. And, so I was just kind of thinking to myself, hey, time is the most precious thing. It's finite, while being a doctor, you exchange time for money, but there's a point in life where your money should work for you. And while you're sleeping, your money should be working as well. So it kind of opened my eyes with that experience. But I have to say, medicine has made me a better savvy business person. So I have to thank medicine to be what I've learned. It's a growth mindset. I'm learning every day. But medicine has changed the way I do business, honestly. So, just a small kind of background on me and how I started.
That's great. Yeah, we appreciate this. You've been all over the country, man. You started on the west coast, went to the East Coast, and back to the West Coast.
Yeah, actually, I moved from. I made the opposite move. I guess I went from Florida to California in a one-way U-Haul. They literally gave me the U-Haul for free. So, but yeah, I've been in the East Coast for the past 15 years, and all my parents, family, and everyone's out here in California. So I had to make that drastic move as much as I didn't want to, but it was for the best.
That's great. All right, so tell us about how you got started in real estate investing. You were in residency, correct? Is that when your first deal occurred? Tell us about that.
I kind of grew up in a hotel family. So there was an opportunity to buy my first hotel. It was back in 2012 while I was in residency. I would say, hey, let me just throw a shot at this. I had some capital, because leaving money in the bank is useless. It's not doing nothing. So I had this opportunity outside of Seattle in a city called Silverdale. Beautiful hotel, unflagged. It's literally on the water on a beach. And so I put some capital into it and, just say, hey, we'll see what happens. This was in 2012 when probably one of the best opportunities to buy hotels in 2012. It was actually at the really bottom of the market. One thing is real estate, tends to trickle down. It's one of the last lags of a recession. So I bought that opportunity. It was a private hotel. We flagged it as a Best Western, did some renovations, did the updated PIP. And now we are in the process of making it into a DoubleTree by Hilton. But what happened was, I got my first distribution a year later. It was almost half of my paycheck, what I was getting from Medicine. And then on top of that, I didn't pay no taxes on that. While I was here practicing medicine, working crazy weeks, dedicating my life to my patients and, sacrificing my lifestyle as well. I love medicine, but when I was getting my salary, at the end of the day, I was giving about 40% of it to Uncle Sam. And, that was another opportunity. I said, okay, what's going on? Am I not in the right field, or I need to, kind of change things? So it was more of a mind shift. And so then I said, hey, let me look more into these opportunities. And after that, I just went full-fledged and never looked back. I practiced for a few years, and it just, honestly, it just takes one deal to change your life. You can have all the failures, but it just takes one success. And sometimes it just takes that one step to kind of change your life.
That's amazing, man. Good for you. Yeah, let's get into the nitty gritty a little bit of. So you got your hotel, you got maybe a couple hotels. What was that decision to truly give up being a surgeon, to go full fledged into real estate investing? How was that decision with your family, with your spouse, your parents who helped you go through undergrad and medical school and all that stuff? Like, what was that decision really like when you made that?
Honestly, sometimes you just got to take a leap of faith. And I'm a type, I did this cold turkey. I just jumped in. Sometimes, I'm a guy, a believer in taking action, and whatever happens. It is what it is. If going back, it was a tough 6 months. I'll be probably one of the hardest time. I did not have a salary or anything, but, I failed my way through success, honestly. And one thing is, I don't fall back, I fall forward. And those were opportunities, things I learned. I lost money. I'm not going to say, but those lessons had made me 10x what I've learned now. Learning from a school of hard knocks. And if I had to go back, I would have done it gradually. But I would have been in my comfort. I wouldn't take that step. A lot of people told me I was an idiot. What the hell are you doing? You went to school, and I still hear it too. And, my parents, it took them a hard time to digest it. My wife had to say, but honestly, I have to give the best person who has been supporting is my wife. Hey, do it, but at the same time, like I said, medicine is excelled me 10 times in business because the way we look at things, with patients, being with patients, they ground us because, you see a sick patient and you kind of see at the same time that life life is short in general. But now looking back, um, I think I made the best move. Now I have the financial freedom, time, I don't have to pay Uncle Sam as much because of depreciations. I mean, the tax code is favored for businesses. I can say this, that I'm in charge of my life. I can dictate the way I can proceed in my life. I don't have to answer to anyone or bureaucracy in general. It allows me to invest in myself.
Yep.
In the mornings, I get to read, journal, meditate, exercise, and this opportunity also lets me to dictate my planning in my day. And all I need is a phone and a laptop to do what I need to do for my businesses. So it's a luxury. Money's a tool that allows you freedom.
And that's what this podcast is really about, right? Is finding that freedom, and that's what we're all looking for. You've hit on a lot of good points here already, and we're gonna expand upon some of them. You're really a unique guest, and just what you talked about, because most of the guests that we have on are continuing to practice medicine, and just on the side, are doing some real estate investing and things like that. The fact that you gave it up cold turkey and went full fledged into real estate investing is bold and amazing, and that's why you have a unique perspective, which we all need to hear. So, and that with that being said, in your experience, and you've touched on this a little bit, but in your experience, what are the benefits of being an entrepreneur versus being a physician? And I'm gonna just kind of go through some examples that you can hit on. You already said taxes. That's one big point. And we're going to expand upon that a little bit too. But freedom of time, the importance of taxes, of course, more focus on your health potentially. For me, I get up early in the morning before my kids are up, before I have to go to work, 5 o'clock in the morning, get up, get my workout on. And that's the time that I have to myself. But once I get done with that workout, it's basically like rush, shower, get out the door. You got, surgery at 7:30. You got to be there at 7:15. Your day becomes hectic at that point, right? Give us your life and the difference between what you're doing now versus when you were a surgeon.
Yeah, like, I had mentioned before is, the biggest thing is medicine. Your primary focus is your patients, everything else is secondary. People come ill. And what real estate or in general, it changes your priorities. Your priorities are your loved ones. And with medicine, you are dictated by hospitals, time, a schedule. I would say the biggest thing I learned is my priorities changed. There was a I remember a story of one of my mentors during fellowship told me, there was a surgery. And I'm not sure what kind of surgery it was, but the thing was that, you're focused on that surgery. And in the middle of that surgery, he got a phone call. And this guy's a very lively, sarcastic guy. He has, music loud in the surgery. And so he got a call and, the nurse handed it to him. He was talking. And all of a sudden he says to turn off the music and he's all of a sudden quiet. And he's laser focused doing his surgery. And, and everyone just looking at him saying, hey, what happened? He's not talking, he's quiet. He just focused on that patient. And, after the surgery, it was a successful, everything done. And, as he walks out and, does his charting and all, so everyone just, goes up to him and asks him, hey, what happened? What was that phone call about? And he said, my wife died in a car accident.
Oh,
What's the story? Like I said, your priorities is that patient on that table, and everything else is secondary. And it's like we sacrifice our lives, education, taking the USMLE. We took a lot of sacrifices. Not going to having a nightlife or anything. So your focus is medicine, and your patients. And just hearing that story kind of opened my eyes what you're doing in medicine. And because I think the biggest blessing is practicing medicine. You're giving back to humanity. You're getting someone who's ill and making them a battery. But you also see the other aspects too, as where people come and sometimes people don't leave that hospital.
mm-hmm.
What I'm trying to say is you have more freedom with your priorities in life. And that's what real estate, business, entrepreneurship does allow you.
Yep. And not that there's not stress with entrepreneurship or, investing, but I think health is very important. And a lot of physicians, they get into that mode of, focus on the patients, focus on your day to day, that you push the health aside. And I think that is a big drawback that a lot of docs go through. So being able to wake up, have a good workout, eating the right way, what else did you say you do? You meditate, maybe cold plunge, things like that. But like having that time to focus on that is important.
Correct. You have the freedom and the luxury to plan your day however you want.
All right. So taxes, we talked about it. Explain to the novice doc out there, like most residents, even docs in general. I was at dinner the other night and they were more excited about how much money they got back on their tax return, not realizing that they're basically just letting the government borrow their money for a short time, right?
Exactly.
How does real estate investing help with taxes?
Let me just give you just a simple concept here. You have a business and you have a W-2 wage, okay? Let's say, just use arbitrary numbers, 100,000, okay? So the way taxes in our system is, let's just say a W-2. You make 100,000, and then your deductions, what standard deductions, I don't know, it's about 25,000. Then you're taxed at 75,000. Well, the way that businesses work is the opposite. They take out your deductions first, minus your wages, and that's what you pay on. Number one. So it's the opposite mindset. The second thing is depreciation. Everything has an age. You can depreciate something up to 27 years, and there's accelerated depreciations. It's just like things have an age. Everything has a cost to it as it ages. So that's the beauty of real estate. You can, majority of real estate tax people, I would say, don't hardly pay any taxes. You can write off, you can get 58 cents a mile going to your property by the IRS code, So there's so many loopholes out there that, a lot of physicians don't take advantage. They stick to their, W-2 or the 1099, which is it's a different way of doing your taxes than, with real estate. You take out your deductions before, you can write off gas whatsoever.
Yeah. Minimize those taxes is important. Again, taxes are the biggest expense that all of us have, especially as physicians.
Absolutely.
So this podcast in the past has focused on more multifamily or apartments, but we have discussed hotels recently, especially when we talked about extended stay hotels with Jason Trindade recently. So JD, you have a vast experience with in the hospitality industry. So we're going to focus on that topic for just a little bit. First, to start off, you talked about hotels being unflagged or flagged. Give us that quick definition of what a flag is.
So a flagged hotel would be something that is like a Marriott, a Hilton, Best Western, Holiday Inn Express. Those are your franchises. An unflagged one will be your independent, typically your boutique hotels. So X, Y, and Z hotel. So that's the difference between a flagged and a non-flagged hotel.
All right. And then I have this simple analogy that I use, and I want to get your thoughts on it. But basically, when you compare a single family home, so with single family homes, when you rent those out, you can have Airbnb, short-term rental. You can have a long-term rental, which is somebody there for a year or more, and then you have something in between, which is called a mid-term rental, which is basically like a travel nurse or somebody that's staying 30 to 90 days. So those are single family home rentals that one could have. So I compare hotels and multifamily to those things, and I'll just kind of give you my simple analogy, and I want to hear your thoughts. So I compare luxury hotels, aka flags, to short-term rentals, Airbnb or VRBO. So short-term rental, single-family home compared to a luxury hotel, it's shorter stays, typically vacations or quick trips, likely potential for a greater return, but there may be more risk. And then you have a multifamily or apartment complex that's comparable to a long-term rental if you describe it as a single-family home. That's a longer-term stay. You may get lower returns, but it's usually stable. Somebody's staying in there for a long time, right? They're staying there for a year. So typically less risk. And then somewhere in between is that extended stay hotel, which is comparable to a midterm rental, which is kind of the sweet spot. Somebody's in there for 30 to 90 days. You get good returns, good stability, but it's really between those two things. So would you say that's a fair analogy?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a good way to put it, honestly. And then within those mixes there's within different asset classes like hospitality. You have casinos, you have food and beverage, you have luxury, extended stays. You have motels too. You have workforce housing in a way, budget hotels. So yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways within those subsets as well too. But yeah, I think you hit the nail on those.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then let's keep pushing on that note. So, what are your thoughts on the high-end hotels, which I think you've had one or you maybe still do, like a Hilton Head, in the popular area of Hilton Head, versus like a motel or economy hotel / extended stay. What are your thoughts on that comparison when it comes to like risk, when it comes to returns, all that stuff?
So typically, honestly, where the money is to be made in hotels is your limited service. These if you go and see like the new Fontainebleau, it's a full service. There's more cost. Like for instance, Hilton Head, let's talk a property. We're actually converting into a DoubleTree by Hilton. We are supposed to provide a bar, a food and beverage. So these are extra cost, but it's more of an amenity to guests, more ways to stay and stuff like that. But honestly, where the industry is going right now is more on the extended stay. I mean, the margins are higher. You have once a week housekeeping. There's a more longer term stay, and with more of these high end flags, it's high payroll. Okay, the expense ratios are much higher. On an extended stay, you're looking at 30%. And sometimes these full service, like those full service with conventions, and you're looking at a 70% expense ratio, and the margins are way lower. In the extended stay, there is much more margins. The funny thing is right now, just recently, your weekly hotels are doing really well. The ones that stay in weeklies, these budget motels, and that's number one, it's cash business. So what is happening right now is there's been a shift in class. Rents are going higher. People in class A are staying put. Class B is moving to C. C is moving to D. And then those D people are moving into mobile home parks and into weekly hotels. And so, the cost of living is gone up. Rents have gone low. So there's that one niche that a lot of people are not looking into, and it's this extended stay model. And we've been working with us both. We've been working with Jason, who's Trinidad, and I think what he's doing is I would say changing the hospitality market. He's starting a new trend where you're not dictated by franchises or Expedias, your OTAs, or your global distribution system where you get your reservations from. And it's a really, really profitable opportunities to come as well. Because, in essence, too, is sometimes here I'm building a few hotels here in California as we speak. And the cost of construction is very expensive, where it doesn't even make sense, even with these high interest rates. Some of those projects we had to put on pause because it doesn't make no sense. And so we're in an interesting market right now. So basically, where the hotel industry is going is in a lot of automation. We have some self storages. There's no one in there. It's automation again. And one thing I do is, even with multifamily or any other businesses, the thing is that people in multifamily always think, value add in things, change carpet, change cabinets, and then increase rents. But there's a risk and reward. How many times can you change carpet, and how many times can you increase rents? I mean, there's a buffer, everything has an age in multifamily here. Sorry, I'm going back to multifamily, but what I'm trying to say is that in any business, you have to think outside the box, okay? In multifamily, you can, where in the past, we have taken multifamily, sold it as a timeshare. We got individual units on those multifamily, and we sold it as a timeshare. We have taken multifamily. We had eight buildings, 4 units each. Okay, so what we did was just change the lot lines and made them 8 individual units, 8 individual apartments. Just change the lot line. What the beauty of that was, fourplex is residential financing. Well, we had a wait list of people, and just doing things different, solving a problem in business. Because a lot of these people, what happened in a lot of these real estate classes, a lot of these single family people came into multifamily and just did fix and flip. But there's so much more to it, fix a problem. There was an opportunity, south of the border, we were getting a lot of refugees. And so a lot of these cities didn't know what to do with them. Unfortunately, they were put in school gymnasiums. Well, there was opportunities out there where you could go on Crexy, find the oldest listing, and typically there's no financials. Make sure there's no financials. And what you would do is, they had no financials. It's all seller carry. So what you can do is simply go to the seller here. I'm going to give you X, Y, and Z money. Give me the option to purchase it or do a lease option. While you're doing that, go back to the city and master lease it to them. Because you're solving their problem, you're helping the comunidad. At the same time, you're making money. So what I'm trying to say is think outside the box. There's more opportunities than just changing carpet and doing stuff like that. There's also other things too, like within our businesses, other multifamily. We have UPS stores. So we walked into one of our assets, and the lady was on her cell phone, and she was a sales manager. So what are you doing? So I thought, hey, what do people need in a multifamily? So, they need a UPS store. So I got her notary certified, and we make great money. It pays her salary.
Wow.
It's an amenity. And, cell phone towers you can get $4,000 putting a cell phone tower. There's, cell phone tower brokers out there. What else? Is there a problem? You can't wash your cars, in a multifamily. Well, you can put these portable car washes for $2,000. You can lease them. Average, you can get about $1,500 in your pocket. And again, it's a service too, and, like what else in a multifamily? I mean, I can talk about other assets, but, since we're talking about multifamily, a lot of these multifamily people have fair to poor credit. Okay. Well, if they pay me directly with the upcharge on service, you can report it to all 3 of the credit bureaus that they paid on time. It builds their credit. At the same time, I'm making $50 a month just doing that. Just another. So these simple things, instead of getting rent and adding other businesses, this adds to your NOI. $3-4 million because your NOI is higher. You're not just getting rent; you're adding other businesses. And the other thing too is, I honestly, sometimes as investors, syndicators, whatsoever, we always forget the people behind those doors. Those are the people who are paying us. And one thing I always tell people: make it a community. Okay. One thing we do is we make people our problem knock on everyone's door every other week. How's Billy? How's Bobby? Is there something we can do? Because it makes them feel they're at home. Someone's listening to them. There's a big purpose to that. I can, because of that, they're not moving. Some of our tenants are there for a long time. And so there's no turnover. If they move out, I don't need to change the carpet or paint because I made it a home. We do a Taco Tuesday once a month. It costs me a couple $100. It's not a big deal. But the beauty here is I can increase the rent every year by 3% without them complaining or moving out.
Yeah.
You don't look at the pennies, you look at the dollars, At the same time, just putting a playground, just simple things like that, even with other businesses, just look outside the box.
Yeah, that's great. To that point, as a successful business, which is real estate is a business, you're providing a service. To be successful, you're providing a service, and that service is a lovely house for somebody to live in. Whether it's multifamily, a hotel, whatever it is, a roof and a nice place for them to live, and then you're adding that win-win situation of taking care of them. You're knocking on the door every other week, make sure they're doing okay, adding that community aspect, and then from their situation, they're like, well, I don't want to leave here. These guys take great care of me. So it's a win-win situation.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. All those pearls you just put out there are fantastic. So we're going to keep moving on a little bit, but you've touched on a lot of this, and I just really want to expand upon it because you do have a plethora of real estate assets in different categories. So with that being said, there's some uncertainty in the current market, and approximately $1 to $2 trillion will be maturing in debt over the next couple of years. So with potential opportunities coming in the next couple of years, what investments excite you right now?
There's a lot of bridge debt coming due. If I could take one step back and just tell what's happening at macro level, and I'll tell you the businesses that I've been focusing on is, this is a really interesting time in commercial real estate. I would say, what's happening is a lot of bridge debt is due. A lot of these guys took, cheap debt and temporary debt, and now they're in a hardship right now. And so what banks are doing, and I built a lot of relationships with banks and asset portfolio managers who take care of these distressed assets. It's their job to get rid of it. So I was just talking to this. She's a senior executive level here, and I'm not going to mention name or the bank. So this bank has $21.2 billion of distressed assets in Q2 of this year. Okay. So what's happening is, and, a lot of these, they want to get ahead of this, back in 2008, when all this financial mess happened, there were some measures put in place for banks, to, abide by. So every bank has to do a stress test. If they have more distressed assets, they cannot lend. How do banks make money? Is by lending. Okay. In response to that, what do banks want to do is get rid of these assets, so they can start lending. So basically what's happening right now is, in the situation right now is that sellers are asking at this price and buyers are asking, up here. So that gap is huge. So what banks are trying to do is get in front of this, and, talking to this person, and they're doing this for the first time in history in commercial real estate. So what banks are doing is there's three things these banks can do. They can take that asset, that distressed asset, sell it to another bank. But what other bank wants to buy a distressed asset right now? Okay. The second thing a bank can do is take that deal and have it brokered through a broker. Well, they don't like that. Number one, it stays longer and it's not selling. They're not in asset management. They're not in receivership. And the biggest thing, a lot of these deals are not closing right now due to the fact that capital markets are all over the place. I mean, inflation hasn't been tamed. It went up just recently, just a few decimal points. But here's the interesting thing, so they don't like broker deals. The third thing they're doing is the most interesting thing, and it's the first time they're doing that. So what I'm trying to say is basically they'll take that asset, they will go back to someone that in their developers list, someone they have done business with, okay, some developer or some kind of relationship, or you can build on these relations. They will take that asset, internally refinance it as new debt, hand it off to someone, and they will take a 5 to 30% equity share. And so they're handing off these properties like crazy. So remember the bank that failed, Silicon Valley, the Signature Bank in New York. Their assets are held by the FDIC, and they're trying to figure out what to do with it. So a lot of these banks are trying to whether modify those loans. Sometimes they can't because they're under. Or what I'm trying to say is the deals right now are not with the brokers. It's with the banks. What you want to do is make relationships with your regional banks. Typically, these are banks that have $50 billion or I think it's $100 million or billion dollars or less in assets. Those are where you want to make those deals. I mean, go on LinkedIn. You can savor some of these relationships through there, or reach out to banks that you have done business. So that's the most interesting things that's happening here in a macro sense.
That's great, man. I love that. Good advice. And use the connections wisely, right?
Exactly.
We're going to kind of focus more on physicians, speaking to physicians here, okay?
Sure.
I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but I feel like you've told me you don't love investing with physicians. Is that true?
It's more hand-holding, honestly. It is. So, let me just kind of describe a doctor, an entrepreneur, and an engineer.
Please, yes, this is good. That's what I was going to get into.
Doctors are more risk adverse. We start later in life. We start with a huge debt. And in a way, we're not business savvy. We don't know what balance, financial statements are. At the same time, entrepreneurs are more risk takers. Sometimes we'll just figure out as we go. As doctors, we're practicing clinicians, and we have to make the right judgment for a patient on their treatment plan. So we're always looking at the risk and rewards. And that's where that's the fine line in medicine. And doctors want security and stability. Doctors these days start in somewhere in the early 30s or mid 30s, depending on the residency. At the same time, engineers are more analytical, but their problems, they have analysis paralysis, so they know numbers, they know what's a deal and not a deal. With doctors is great people, but it is more of a seasoning. You got to, it's more about education, teaching them, about the business, the alternative businesses here. The way I can describe a doctor is, a doctor will see the tree in the forest, but they won't see the whole forest. We're just tuned to that symptom. We don't see we do not find out what's the whole problem. Let's say I have an elbow point pain or something. Okay, we'll give it some ibuprofen, and okay, but we sometimes don't know what caused it. So as a whole, we just see doctors only see medicine. They don't see the forest. But at the same time, it takes a matchstick to light that whole forest in fire. So what I'm trying to say is, look at the opportunities, open your horizons, physicians. You don't want to be that mastic where it just takes one thing to blow up. Just not be narrow-minded. Look at other ways of making money instead of just your salary. Honestly, and this is one thing I told colleagues and even medical students. A salary is a drug your employer gives you to forget about your dreams.
Nice.
Just look at other ventures in life too. Don't make medicine your life.
That's great, man. So the salary is kind of like that carrot that just keeps you dragging along.
Yeah, it's like a dog chasing its own tail in circles.
Yeah, this is good, man. A lot of good pearls here, like I said, and it's cool because you have a different perspective. You've been in the shoes of a lot of people listening to the show. but you were able to get out of it and see it from an outsider's perspective. So we love that. It's unique. So now speaking to young physicians and medical students, right now, the more young people I talk to, especially young docs that are coming out of practice, who are like, all right, I did medical school, I did residency. Now I should be making the big bucks of a doctor. Unfortunately, now it's high interest rate loans. It's been a higher price for medical school, so your student loans are high, and then you have a high interest rate on top of that. That makes it tough. It's difficult to buy a home because of high interest rates again. So young docs getting out of training are kind of living a fairly middle-class lifestyle. It's not really what they dreamt of, but that's kind of, unfortunately, what's going on right now. So what advice do you have for young physicians and other young professionals regarding, let's start with just investing in general. Where would you put your money, or what would you do if you were in their shoes?
Just look at any passive income. Like I said, your money should work for it. Keep something on the side. Look at opportunities, whether it's in a business, real estate, but do not keep your focus just in medicine. Something can happen. If you lose a finger or something, you can't do surgery. And there's things that happen in life too. Look at other opportunities. I remember myself being a medical student too. Medical school is tough. We study. I still have the stresses of thinking. Whether it's the COMLEX or the USMLE step 1, 2, and 3. You're learning everything for those tests, and honestly, sometimes they say the grass is greener. The way you can see it is, the way looking back now, life's like a tragedy. Close up, but in the long shot, it's comedy. Some of the things I've done in the past, it's never too late. You got to start somewhere. That's what I'm trying to say is that start real estate, whether you're in medical school or if you're currently in. Colonel Sanders started when he was in his late 70s. The KFC, and so this business, real estate is one of the oldest professions. More millionaires have been made in real estate or in business, and sometimes we suffer more in our own imaginations as doctors than in reality, So we have this concept, it's going to take $1 million to buy an apartment building. That's your imagination, but in reality, that's another discussion about creative financing. You can go in deals with hardly any money down or creative financing. But, doctors make it tough. It's going to be too much time, this effort, that. So what I'm going to tell medical students or residents, invest in yourself. Start learning now. Okay. Don't get bombarded by medicine, invest in yourself, read every day. And it's, one thing I like to say, it's never too late to be what you might have been. Start now.
I just started reading the book, Richest Man in Babylon. The Richest Man in Babylon. Great book, has tons of pearls. And it was written about the city of Babylon, which was like a BC city. And basically it talked about investing. It talked about investing in the right people. It just had tons of great pearls that have been around for many, many years. And real estate investing is similar to that. It's like, we don't need to reinvent the wheel on this stuff, right? So get your reading in, get your podcasts in, get your education in on this stuff to learn really a lot more about it. A couple more things that we'll talk about here. Since you are a former surgeon, dealt with plenty of post-op patients on a daily basis, we're going to have some fun on this one. So you dealt with a lot of post-op patients. Do you remember the visual analog score, the VAS score?
Yeah.
1 to 10 is the VAS score, right? You remember the sad face all the way to a happy face?
Exactly.
You ask your patients, like, all right, 1 to 10, 10 being the worst pain ever, 1 being the best pain, what's your pain score? And then you give pain medications based on that. So I'm going to do that with you right now. I'll give you 6 scenarios, and you're going to give me a pain score, 10 being the worst, 1 being the best. All right? So what is your score on, you're in the middle of a 4-hour exploratory laparotomy surgery. What's your pain score?
5.
You're doing gastric bypass surgery on a 650-pound patient.
7.
One day you saw a patient in the ER with severe right lower quadrant pain. 2 weeks post-op, they say you're the best surgeon ever.
6.
6, they say you're the best surgeon ever.
Try to stay humble.
All right. Now, how about as a physician paying over 40% of your income in taxes?
Major pain, 10, 12.
That's a bad one. How about as a real estate investor or entrepreneur paying $0 in taxes?
1.
And then on the VAS score 1 to 10, compare, this is more for my sake, compare asset management for hotels versus multifamily apartments.
I would say they're about the same. I would give them both a 4, honestly. If you have a great team, it's smooth sailing.
Awesome. So yeah, I mean the biggest discrepancy was the taxes. Paying a lot of taxes or paying very little taxes. Makes sense. So in closing, I'd like to finish by asking my guests 4 final questions. First one, what book are you reading right now?
I'm reading 2 books right now. 10X is Easier Than 2X by Dan Sullivan. Basically, shoot high and miss is better than aiming low and missing. The second book too is The New Look of Affordable Housing by Alvin Hope Johnson. It's interesting that affordable, you can be in California making $120,000 and you're still poor. So that book is putting things in perspective for me.
Very good. And what advice would you give to your 25-year-old self?
I could say this is the most expensive real estate in the world is the graveyard. What I mean is that, pursue every action, don't have the woulda, coulda, shoulda, take action, discipline yourself and have no regrets. And another thing is that, I remember this in medical school, it's tough times, studying and, sometimes you don't know what path you're going, residency, the match. And, when you're in a dark place and you think you've been buried, but actually you have been planted. So new opportunities, it's perception versus perspective.
Fantastic, man. That's great advice. All right. What is your definition of wealth?
I actually have a poster that I it's part of what I look at every day. It breaks, it's spelled wealth, WEALTH. W is for write down what you want. E is envision your future. A is for affirm your desire. L is listen to your inner voice. T, take action and transform. And the H is hold that vision. So that's wealth for me.
I love it. And what does retirement look like for you?
Honestly, retirement's like a blank sheet of paper sometimes. It's a chance to redesign your life and turn things into meaningful things for others, So I'm honestly a very quiet person. I'm not just social media. I'm very quiet. I'm not a big poster of things. And, living in this country, we're 95% better than the rest of the world. The rest of the world, they're thinking about their next, water or the shelter of the head. And here in life, we think about the next iPhone and we don't have those problems. And what I'm trying to say is that we have more than we deserve. We have every opportunity in this country. And honestly, I come from a simple background. My legacy and is just to change one person. Just one simple thing I can do to change someone's health or financial freedom. And then I have a big thing is to feed about 10,000 people in my life. That's a goal that I strive to aim for. Just bringing a purpose to someone's life. And that's how I want to redesign my life and give a purpose and a why.
Love that. Well, JD, thank you very much for joining us today. Like I said at the very beginning, you're one of the smartest guys I've ever met, both in real estate and in life. You're such a good guy, and I noticed that a lot of people have an affinity for you. So I am excited personally to continue to learn from you, and I'm blessed to be able to work with you. So on that note, where can people find you and learn more about you?
People can call me directly. I'm willing to give my cell phone number, and they can reach me at 916-749-0245. Or, my email is jdsingh 913@gmail.com. I'm here to, help whatever I can do. Questions, ideas, other medical students, physicians, residents. I can tell you my story, how I took the sacrifices and I'm learning it. It's all about growth mindset. It's not a fixed mindset. And, there's other opportunities and things we can all learn and collaborate and learn from each other.
That is fantastic. What a great episode. People are going to learn a lot from this one. So I really appreciate you, JD. And we'll talk soon.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
This is my time. I'm on the rise. Can't hold me down.
Thank you for listening. If you found value in today's podcast, please leave a review so our community can continue to grow. If you would like to stay connected or receive a copy of your free investing ebook, please go to www.sharpinvestmentsllc.com, and that's sharp with a P as in professional. This is not financial or tax advice. Please consult with your financial advisor or CPA.